All right. It says we're live, so we must be live. Hi, everybody. Hi, welcome to our first Facebook, YouTube Live. We are so excited to be doing these series for you all. This is an extension of our podcast because our production for podcast has been delayed by several different factors, but these lives are more accessible. If you are joining us, please tell us where you're coming from in terms of what city, what state. Let us know. Let us know also if you're a mental health professional or not. And because we love talking to our followers and our audience. For today, we have Amanda Serrano, and I am going to go ahead and let Amanda introduce herself. She is a member of the Latinx Therapy Directory, so that is how I have gotten to know about her and her work. Welcome, Amanda.
Hi, everyone. Saludos todos. My name is Amanda Serrano. I am a clinical social worker in North Carolina. My practice really focuses on working with people through trauma, and I have a special love for those first generation kind of children of immigrants. And I'm really focused a lot of my work, and a lot of the work that I do is with that lovely group of people who are near and dear to my soul, as I'm a member of that community as well.
Awesome. So we are excited to talk with you today about this notion of never enough. So who would this plática, kind of apply to?
So I really think that it really resonates the most with those members of children of immigrant parents, or the kids who came as childhood arrivals, who kind of grew up in between two cultures, grew up with the expectations of kind of what it means to be an American, what success means to be like as an American, and what success is back home, wherever home is.
Okay. Yeah. And I think that this has been a topic. I mean, when I announced it, we got a lot of comments of people like, I've been waiting for this, or I need this. I can't wait. For those of you watching or watching later, just know that this is being recorded. It's going to be saved in our YouTube channel. So no worries. You don't have to be here live necessarily. And if you have to go, you can catch the rest of it later. So that is the awesome thing about technology, especially during these days of Corona. So, all right. So we had talked a little bit about some questions that I would be asking you. And the first one is, what is meant, or what are some examples of feeling never enough?
Yeah. So never enough kind of is like a global term. It's like one of those things that gets stuck in like that icky part in the back of your heart where it's like, oh, like I could be doing more. I could have a better relationship. Like I might have my degree and I might be doing just everything that I'm doing, and I don't have my boyfriend yet. Pues ¿dónde está el novio? Right? Or I don't have the career yet, but I have the house. But of course, I don't have that college degree. It's always wanting to have all of the things, wanting to have that global picture of what happiness looks like, and just constantly feeling like I'm not getting there within my timetable. And let's say my timetable is I want to do all of this by the time I'm 25. And sometimes that happens. Well, it's like, well, my parents came over here when I was like 14. Parents came over here when I was 14, and they learned a language. They went out, they did this, they did all these wonderful things. They came up and they brought me all these privileges. So I'm not needing that.
Yeah, being a child of immigrants, of immigrant parents, puts a lot of natural pressure. And I think that there's definitely positive things about that pressure. And then also it comes with some negative things as well. And some of that, the negative stuff is that we just never know how those pressures are going to affect someone's mental health, because our resiliency is at different levels, right? Our circumstances, depending on what we go through, what traumas we carry intergenerationally as well, what's passed on, affects everybody differently. And the mentality of coming here for the American dream and then expecting the children to also fulfill that, if not better. You know, I often grew up with my parents telling me, estudia para que no trabajes como burros como nosotros. Study so that you don't work like a donkey, like us. Is it a donkey or un burro? Yeah, okay. So I think that definitely put that pressure of just like, oh, I'm expected to do something. And I think that, I'm going to focus a little bit on my family unit. I'm the second oldest. My family unit is a little complicated. So I'm the oldest in terms of like the children that come from my father. And among us three, I am the one that was able to get my education. And my two younger siblings, they felt the pressure and they were just like, well, she's got it, And up to this day, they're adults, and they want to go back, but it's definitely, they feel that they're never enough. So it's like, so why bother in a way? So there's definitely an internal clash, and we're super close, so we do get to talk about all of this. But does that fall along the lines of what you're discussing?
Absolutely. So it's sometimes that like, if I don't try, then I never get to meet that potential or meet that like not enough standard. So like, I don't actually have to push myself. I don't actually have to try. And it's a really sad thing that happens in like families, because that pressure is there, and you can either rise to that occasion or like kind of cripple under that anxiety and be like, screw it, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to go out, I'm going to distract myself with friends. I might go drink, I might go hang out, I might just do some job that requires very little energy, very little attention, and I'll be okay that way. But still in the back of my head, now I'm living that not enough. And I might be getting that reinforced outside.
Yeah.
And yeah, a little bit of what you said to me just like resonated so much, because it's, I don't know if this was your experience, but my mom came here when she was 14. Didn't know the language, didn't know anything, learned the language, is an amazing human being. She does so many things. And I look up to her. But growing up, I remember, how dare you get a B? Why'd you get a B? What's going on? Your mom had to learn a whole language when she was your age. What happened? And I realized after fact, I was like, my mom kept having to learn a new language at each different age. Okay. But it's still kind of stuck in there as like, oh, I'm not doing enough.
Yes. Yeah. And that's definitely what I see with my clients as well. And in another way, because education is just 1% of this never enough notion. But there's also, among the mental health realm, within the family units or even within the community, maybe if it's very common for the entire family to suffer, to have depression, but yet still be able to what it looks like among society to thrive, right? To be able to push through the depression, and where that's in family units where mental health stigma does exist, but maybe to a minimum. And so I've heard that among some, very few, but some Latinx households. And I just want to mention that because this never enough notion, it really seeps into so many different contexts of our lives that we don't even realize that we're living with it in a very like subconscious way. It impacts every dynamic and interaction. So that leads me into the next question in terms of who are the individuals that you would say struggle with this negative belief of I'm not enough.
I would say that a piece of it goes with everyone. Like a piece of it can also be with that immigrant parent who's like, oh, well, I wasn't enough to maybe learn the language, and now my kid has to interpret for me, or my kid has to do these things. I'm not meeting the standard. And it goes with that kid, and then it's passed down. It's that intergenerational stuff where it just gets passed down. And it can be sometimes that driver that's like, all right, I'm going to prove you. I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to prove that I am enough. And sometimes that leads to burnout. And sometimes that leads to just XYZ thing. But it's a shared kind of experience where no one feels like they're ever meeting that potential or ever really reaching to that other level.
Yeah. And it's heavy because it makes you, in our work and needing to work on ourselves, sometimes forcefully from our graduate school, right? It really has us to, we're supposed to reflect on how this notion or any messages that come from our childhood impact us on an individual internal level, but then we also have to analyze or reflect on how it's impacting, those around us. What kind of pressures are we then continuing with this cycle? So it's not only internal work, but it's also external work. But for anyone watching, and struggling with this, I would say just start with one. Which one is creating a lot of dysfunction in your life, the external or the internal? So that would be my 2 cents about that. And the other question I have for you, Amanda, is what are the consequences of holding on to these beliefs, and where do they come from?
So some of the consequences, and I like to think that like these beliefs are along the ride with us. Like they kind of come with us. They're our family friend. And sometimes naming them. A lot of the work that I do, I name that belief system, right? So if it is that we're naming this belief Lola, and Lola does this, and how does Lola kind of sit with us in life? And how do I kind of like veer her somewhere else or not listen to her all the time? Sometimes it's like that annoying tia or annoying cousin who's like, oh, well, guess what? Remember this and remember that. So that ends up being a factor sometimes.
Yeah. So they do come from, I guess I would say intergenerationally, right? Mm-hmm. Essentially it is an ingrained message. And I think our parents definitely witnessed and experienced it differently than us. And with generations, the beautiful thing that I love to give credit to is that there's definitely been more awareness. We are here now and we are aware of our mental health now. Sure, many other generations have been, but I feel like we're in this mental health movement right now where we're really just focusing on like, okay, how can we better not only our physical health, but our mental health as well? So because our families often have come from other countries or been in positions where they were only in survival mode because of finances, then this notion of never enough was something that they battled with themselves. They had their own expectations because they saw other people thriving or what they thought was thriving, right? There was always that expectation of just like for their own selves. And that expectation is also a motivator, a very natural motivator for many Latinx individuals, especially older folks, that has built their resiliency. Of course, it comes with some, sorry, I don't know if you hear my little one. He's playing like Fortnite. Oh, okay. But that not giving that attention comes with some of these consequences that we're talking about. And some of those do include underlying anxiety, depression, underlying thoughts of self-harm even, and sometimes even suicide. So there are various different mental health consequences that these messages, like never being enough, comes with. One other thing that actually is coming up is that there's a lot also of feeling of or believing that you're never enough, even within the Latinx culture, because you're not American enough, or you're not Mexican enough, or you're not Guatemalan enough. I'm mixed. I'm mixed Mexican and Guatemalan. So the barrier of not speaking super fluently Spanish also just kind of validates that never enough. I'm curious, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I automatically go back to the movie Selena, where it's like, you're not Mexican enough for the Mexicans, you're not American enough for the Americans, and it's exhausting. And that is a shared experience for a lot of people, where it's like, and I am kind of with you. I am Colombian, my husband's Salvadorian. It's a whole different clash of cultures. So then it's like going and being in a space where a different Spanish is there, and then just feeling like, oh, wow, not enough over here because I don't know what this Spanish is, what this dialect is. And just being kind to yourself is something that is not really expected in the culture. It's not something that we do. We have to really act inwardly in doing that. In a lot of the work that I do, the most beautiful thing that I find happening is that I have a client who's like younger, and they bring some of what they've learned to their parents, and their parents start to heal. That is the most beautiful moment, because then it's something that can be shared, and it's something that's just, it's deep in there, and it's something that they can connect again.
Yeah. I like to refer to similar things like that as like, we're planting seeds. Our words are seeds, and you can't expect them to blossom and bloom immediately. It takes time, and it's going to be up to the other person to, decide when they're ready to accept your words and grow it into something of when we are trying to heal our generations. But what are some other suggestions that you have in order to help us with this core belief of I'm not good enough, or just never being enough?
A lot of times giving that not enough a name, saying, hey, this is who this is who's along for the ride, this is what we're working on. And just knowing, like, I can follow what you're saying and get off the track that I am on life. And if my life is about being happy, or if it is about like really being clear in your intention of what you want right now, and keeping yourself in check. I like to think like, according to Latinx standards, we know how you feel like you're doing. Let's break it down and think about some of your American friends. How are we doing? What's going on there? Because that's usually a really easy reframe, because there's so many expectations, and just kind of being able to laugh at some of those expectations is like, I would not be this hard on someone of a different culture. Why am I doing this to myself?
Okay, so kind of like grounding yourself through the identities that you carry, and then externalizing them and reflecting that way. I like that. Yeah, that's really beautiful. Any other ways? I'm going to try to think of one.
And I would like to think about like some of the times where, and I believe in affirmations, like, okay, well, if we need to fake them until we get there, like, let's find a few things that we are good enough at, or we feel confident with. And sometimes finding those people to hype us up. If it is like we can't come up with this for ourselves, go to your family, figure it out. Like, hey, what is it that you like about me? What is it that you admire? What is it that, just to kind of fill up your bucket, fill up your bucket with love and all of that, like, positivity, because we rarely go there. We go to like, we have to work, we have to do, we have to, instead of like, I can take 5 minutes to myself and not feel guilty because I'm not filling that 5 minutes up.
Yes, rest has been a huge game changer for me. Napping specifically, it just, I don't know why, I didn't serve it in this purpose a lot sooner. And well, I guess I do know why. It's because, I was trying to fulfill myself as being an automatic pilot, thinking that if you do more, you're respected more. How tired you are indicates how, worthy you are. And so there's all these things that we definitely have to reverse on and see, because if we're not aware of the messages that we are carrying, there's no way we could intervene with them. So I really love that. Also, we do just have to slow down. We have to pause. And what I heard was also community healing, right? Just reaching out to others to help us. I definitely do also have those friends where when I'm feeling a little gloomy, like I can't fill my own cup, then, there's other people that can help me with that. And for, individuals that don't have that, I would suggest seeking a support group. I think that those are very beneficial and helpful, and there's more being created. So spaces like that can also be healing. We don't have to do this work alone.
Absolutely. And definitely finding some spaces of people who share your same experiences can be so helpful and so healing. I particularly have found this in like high achieving groups of Latinx individuals who like don't have a family or a mentor group that they can rely on, or they can have a model of what it looks like to adult in this way, what it looks like to be successful, and how to do that. So oftentimes we look at like failure as being, oh my God, like failure. I see failure as an opportunity. Like, what did we learn? Because we learned through those rough patches.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we end, I want to ask the 38 of you watching if any of you have any questions. If any of you have any questions or maybe some comments, this is the time. And in the meantime, Amanda, I would love to know about your nonprofit. If you can please tell us a little bit about it, because I have loved what I've been seeing and hearing about it.
Well, so I have a new nonprofit in North Carolina. It's called Sunrise-Amanecer. We are located in Greensboro, North Carolina. And for those of you who do not know, the Latinx community in North Carolina since I think 2007 has grown by like 300%. It's a ridiculous number. So like at one point there was none of us here, and now there are several thousand of us here. And a lot of what I do with my community is I try with my team to have a safe space that is healing for victims of trauma, for Latinx folk, for vulnerable populations. And we take particular care with the LGBTQIA plus community, because we just want to kind of support a lot of those vulnerable populations. That is what I'm focused on. We are growing. We have an office in Greensboro. We have an office up in Stokes County in Walnut Cove, which is just a very rural area where we're just starting to put some boots on the ground and really helping people through some mental health struggles, and then also creating a community center where people can feel supported.
That's so wonderful, and I can't wait to visit after COVID is gone. Yeah, it just sounds like it's definitely something that the community needs, especially the Latinx community. And North Carolina, I mean, we know it to be predominantly white. So congratulations. And honestly, I can't wait to visit. So
you're welcome anytime.
Thank you. All right, we're going to pause right here. So no, it doesn't look like we have any questions. I want to thank the 30-ish of you that have been with us for the last about, where's our time? 23 minutes. Amanda, is there anything else you want to mention before we go?
No, just thank you so much for having me on board. It's been a real pleasure talking with you today.
Thank you. Yes. And tell us the website, please.
Sunrise-Amanecer-services.org.
Okay. And are you on social media?
Yes, we are. So Sunrise-Amanecer Services on Facebook and on Instagram.
Sunrise, I'm typing it in. Are there any spaces?
No.
Sunrise-Amanecer Services?
Services. Mm-hmm.
Y eso es todo, right?
Sí.
Okay. So I'm sending it to you all. Okay. So there it is. It is in the chat now. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to our guest, Amanda. You can check her out on the Latinx Therapy Directory, most likely by next week when the profiles are all done. Have a great evening, everyone.
Bye.